This is the story of a man who seemed to have it all: stunning looks, immense talent, youth, and fame. But ultimately, those gifts were not enough. Do you remember him?
Build my world around you, darling. This love will shine you. Watch it.
Born into one of the most musically gifted families in history, this young star had beauty, ability, and wealth. Yet, despite these advantages, his bright and joyful spirit was not prepared for the harsh realities behind the glamorous facade of the entertainment industry. His life was later overwhelmed by the darkness of addiction, depression, and heartbreak. Here we delve into the full, turbulent, and ultimately tragic story of Andy. Andrew Roy Gibb, known to the world as Andy, entered the world on March 5, 1958, in Stanford, England. He was the youngest child in the family of Barbara and Hugh Gibb. With four siblings, Barry, twins Robin and Maurice, and a sister named Leslie, Andy's early life was surrounded by the promise of musical greatness. At just 6 months old, his family, facing financial challenges, seized the opportunity offered by an assisted migration program in Australia. In 1959, they set sail for Australia in search of a new start. Interestingly, among the passengers was a dancer named Carol Jones, who would later give birth to the famous singer Kylie Minogue, a beloved icon in Australia. After spending 8 formative years in Australia, the family returned to England, where Andy's older brothers had already begun making a name for themselves under the band name the Bee Gees. Their breakthrough, however, would eventually come on home soil, where they rose to legendary status in music.
I use my walk, I'm a woman's man. No time to talk. Music loud, women. Nobody gets too much heaven no more. It's
Andy was a bright, funny, and sometimes mischievous child, a trait many believe he inherited from his parents. His antics often pushed the boundaries of what was expected. His mother, Barbara, fondly recalled sending him off to school, only to later discover he had chosen to hide in the stables instead, spending the day asleep among the horses. Despite returning home reeking of hay and manure, he would insist that he had been at school. Thanks to the tremendous success of the Bee Gees, young Andy enjoyed a childhood filled with luxuries that most children could only dream of. By the age of 12, his family's prosperity was evident. They even owned a luxury Rolls-Royce with a chauffeur ready to whisk him off to school or anywhere his heart desired. However, this opulence eventually made him a target for bullies, and the attention soon soured among his peers. Bored with the conventional school system, Andy made the bold decision to drop out at 13. Instead of attending classes, he picked up a guitar that his brother Barry had given him and began performing for passing tourists on the island of ABA, earning money by covering songs performed by his famous siblings. His first recorded effort came in August 1973 with the song "My Father's a Rebel," penned by his brother Maurice. By June 1974, at only 16 years old, Andy had formed his first band, Melody Fair, a name inspired by one of his brother's hits. There was even talk at times of him joining the Bee Gees, but he was determined not to be seen merely as the baby of the family. Instead, he aspired to carve out his own niche, a decision that would soon shape his career. Following Barry's suggestion, Andy headed back to Australia at the close of 1974 with his band, where he received a warm welcome from his sister Leslie, who had decided to settle permanently there. In Australia, the band quickly began writing and rehearsing new songs. At just 16, Andy made his first television appearance in the country. Unfortunately, while his brothers were battling poverty and striving for recognition in Australia, Andy's own experience was marked by excess. His bandmates had to work hard for every meal, while he indulged in an extravagant lifestyle filled with parties, alcohol, and endless social engagements. His frequent absences eventually led his bandmates to return to England. Undeterred, Andy moved on and joined another local band named Zenta, finding a degree of success on the stage. Then, in November 1975, at 17, he released his first solo single, Words and Music for All the Love You Brought Along. Although it only reached number 78 on the Australian charts, the track was a stepping stone in what would soon become an explosive solo career. At 18, Andy married an English woman named Kim Rear, a love story that began during their school days and deepened over time. In 1977, the couple moved to the United States, where his brothers had already achieved global fame and an affluent lifestyle. As supportive siblings, they welcomed him into this new world. However, the pressures and indulgences of celebrity life proved too overwhelming for the young star. His notorious reputation as a party enthusiast and a social butterfly soon emerged. Andy's life was punctuated by wild nights, heavy drinking, and encounters with numerous women. While his brothers helped him secure a solo record deal early in 1977, he was increasingly drawn into a lifestyle that led him down a dangerous path. In April 1977, Andy released the single I Just Want to Be Your Everything, a song crafted by his brother Barry, who even lent his backing vocals, and featured a guest appearance by Joe Walsh of the Eagles on guitar. Written in a remarkable 20-minute span, the song catapulted him to fame by reaching number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 on July 30, 1977, where it held the top spot for 4 weeks. The hit also topped charts in Australia and Canada, though it peaked at a modest 26 in the UK. At just 19, Andy emerged as a teenage idol, amassing millions in earnings and capturing hearts with his charming looks and exceptional voice. Following up on this success, he released his debut album, Flowing Rivers, and then his second single, Love is Thicker Than Water, which also became a massive hit. Within a single year, from July 1977 to July 1978, Andy achieved the extraordinary feat of having his first 3 singles hit number 1, a testament to his instant star quality. The very qualities that made him a superstar also paved the way for his downward spiral. With beauty, fame, and an ever-growing fan base, Andy's life began to mirror the excesses of the celebrity world. Women adored him, but the environment around him was rife with opportunities for self-destruction. What began as occasional experimentation with drugs escalated into a relentless addiction to cocaine. Despite his charm and generosity, often spending lavishly on parties, drugs, alcohol, and covering expenses for others, the pressures of fame took their toll. His wife's attempts to intervene ultimately led to a breakdown in their relationship. Despite Andy's desperate pleas for forgiveness, Kim left him and returned to Australia, unaware that she was pregnant at the time. Their separation was finalized on January 15, 1978, with their daughter Peter arriving just 10 days later. Today, Peter reflects on the fact that, for her father was more a distant, almost mythical voice than a constant presence. In an effort to escape the heartbreak, Andy turned his focus to his music. He began working on his second album, Shadow Dancing, which was released in April 1978. The title track, written by all 4 Gibb brothers, became his third number 1 hit on the Billboard Hot 100, dominating the charts for 7 weeks. Additional singles from the album, including An Everlasting Love and Don't Throw It All Away, further solidified his status as a chart-topping artist. In September 1977, he continued to build on his solo success. Despite the contrasting fortunes, while his brothers struggled to gain recognition in Australia through years of hard work, the lavish lifestyle Andy led created an increasingly volatile situation. As the demands of fame and fortune mounted, Andy's personal life unraveled further. His behavior grew more erratic, marked by erratic absences, heavy drinking, and a lifestyle fueled by cocaine that soon overshadowed his professional achievements. His record label, known for its profit focus, eventually decided to drop him because his behavior was becoming too disruptive, even for a once successful artist. During a filming stint for The John Davidson Show in January 1981, Andy met actress Victoria Principal, famous for her role on the hit TV series Dallas. An immediate and intense attraction sparked between them. Despite disapproval from his brothers, who were concerned by the 30-year-old actress's influence and her own drug issues, the romance took center stage in his life. Their relationship, marked by passionate public displays and a duet of All I Have to Do Is Dream, was short-lived and met with mixed success on the charts, further highlighting the tumult of his personal affairs. As Andy's addiction worsened, his personal and professional lives began colliding in dramatic ways. His behavior grew increasingly unpredictable. There were incidents where he missed scheduled performances, skipped interviews, and even had run-ins with the law. On one occasion at Los Angeles International Airport, he was detained for several hours after authorities confiscated a firearm, while in another instance, a bag of cocaine was discovered in his possession. The media was quick to capture these moments, often showing him in handcuffs as he was led away by police. Between 1981 and 1982, his career took another hit when he was briefly hired to host the popular music show Solid Gold. However, his ongoing struggles with cocaine addiction led to erratic behavior and frequent absences, ultimately resulting in his dismissal from the program. In March 1982, Victoria Principal decided to end their relationship and eventually married a wealthy plastic surgeon. This breakup struck Andy deeply. It sent him into a state of profound depression. The loss of his relationship, combined with the crushing burden of addiction, saw him retreat into isolation, spending days locked away, neglecting food, and cutting himself off from everyone. In 1983, Andy had a shot at a fresh start on Broadway, starring in several major musicals. Although his talent was undeniable, his unpredictable attendance and constant exhaustion led to his dismissal. A producer once remarked that while Andy was a delight when he was present, he was never consistent enough to carry a production. Over time, his relentless partying drained his finances. Once a millionaire by the age of 20 and having amassed a fortune of $10 million, he eventually found himself bankrupt, with only about $7,000 in the bank and debts exceeding $50,000. Witnesses noted that during his darkest days, he would spend up to $1,000 a night on drugs at parties. In 1985, the severity of his addictions prompted his family to stage an intervention, urging him to seek help at the renowned Betty Ford Center. After several months of treatment, there were glimmers of recovery. Andy began to appear on television again and performed in small venues, singing both his hits and classic covers. In a surprising twist, during this period of seeming sobriety, he pursued a dream outside of music. He started taking lessons to become a commercial airline pilot. Despite skepticism from his brothers, he successfully earned his pilot's license later that year, marking an unexpected but hopeful milestone in his troubled life. Later, in 1987, buoyed by his renewed sense of purpose, Andy attempted to record new music. His brother Barry managed to secure a deal with Island Records in Europe. However, upon arriving in England, Andy suffered a severe panic attack that caused him to miss critical meetings with the label. As a result, the contract fell through, and some of his freshly prepared songs were only released posthumously. Barry later reflected on how, by that time, Andy's problems extended far beyond drugs and alcohol. He seemed unable to navigate the challenges life threw at him. In February 1988, as panic attacks and deep depression took hold, his brothers tried to help, but nothing could arrest the downward spiral. Just 2 days after his 30th birthday, on March 10th, after complaining of intense chest pains and being admitted to the hospital, Andy lost consciousness and passed away a few hours later. The autopsy revealed that years of cocaine abuse had severely damaged his heart, leading to myocarditis, a dangerous inflammation of the heart muscle. Andy was laid to rest at Forest Lawn Memorial Park in the Hollywood Hills. In a poignant interview, Andy Gibb reflected on Andy's life, recalling the tragic combination of substance abuse and an inability to cope with the pressures of fame. He recounted a heartbreaking conversation with Andy just before his untimely death, a conversation marked by regret and sorrow. Maurice expressed his deep regret over the harsh words he had exchanged with his brother, words that now haunted him as a reminder of lost opportunities for support and understanding. Andy's life is remembered as that of a golden boy, a dreamer who, despite having everything at a young age, flew too close to the sun. The very intensity that marked his rise to stardom eventually consumed him. His story stands as a tribute to both his undeniable talent and the tragic consequences of a life overwhelmed by the darker side of fame. Friends and fans continue to share memories and reflections on his brief yet unforgettable career, each remarking on the lasting impact of his voice and the promise of a talent lost too soon.